thinking about it. It becomes addictive, I would say.
Yeah. And there's, to me, there's good addictions.
If you are just doing it for money, for profits, or any other interest,
Yeah, no,
you're
for
gonna
sure.
feel it. And
sure.
that's the kind of people that you're gonna attract.
Whether it's running or it's something else, make sure you find the community that you not just identify with, but that they're united in the same direction. I think that's what makes Run Club, for instance, special.
Relationships need to be something where both ends are constantly feeding each other. Hello guys, welcome back to a new episode of Making an Impact with your host Gian Lucas. Today we have a special guest, a guest whose journey is filled with inspiration, deep community work, and motivation, but more importantly, consistency throughout his entire life, his ventures, his projects. Has been constant and driving motivation and inspiration to the peers who are next to him. Frankie, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been, I know it was a quick scheduling thing.
Works.
But you know, we're busy living, we're busy living our purpose in life. And I feel like when things are meant to be, they happen like this.
Right.
Quick, and let's do this. Let's see what happens. And you know, we never know. We never know.
I'm ready.
So
I appreciate the invite.
Thank you very much for coming in. And not only that, is thank you for being open about sharing your story, because I feel like our own stories are something that are very, sometimes they bring us to vulnerable places where either turning points or things in life that just switch our mentality and let us be the person who we are today. So being open about sharing yours, I feel it's something important, not only for you, for us who are openly listening, but for the community, because I wanted to remark this that we were talking about off camera when you asked me why I invited you because we this is the first time that we see each other actually.
Right.
And I told you, well, look, in a few words, you are very respected by your community, and
Appreciate that.
you are seen as a role model. So I can't wait to listen to your story and see who is Frankie Ruiz.
Sounds good.
First off, Frankie, talking about coming back to the community and telling you what I just told you about how respected you are within your community. And I can see throughout your different ventures and communities that you have, such as being the co-founder of the Miami Marathon, a coach for FIU, the running clubs with...
Well, coach for Belen. So I don't FIU. I ran at FIU, but close. Go ahead.
Okay, coach. You're a coach.
Yeah.
In general.
Yeah.
And not only that, you lead the running clubs here in Miami. I would say they are the first ones. Those I'm not sure if the first ones, but at least the ones that the people know most about it. At what point in your life did you realize the power that people, when they join together for a single purpose, at what point in your life did you realize that the power that people have when they are together?
Believe it or not, it was early on in life. I was in high school after Hurricane Andrew. And Hurricane Andrew here, for those that don't know, 1992, right? Kind of destroyed our community. And I decided I would organize a haunted house in my neighborhood, and using the scraps of the things that Hurricane Andrew destroyed. And we built a haunted house that year, had a few hundred people show up, and I enjoyed congregating this group of people. And I also realized that neighbors got to know each other. My own neighborhood got closer, and I thought, this is what my life's going to be about. It's going to be about bringing communities together. Can't say that I perfectly, knew what my future was going to hold, but I did have an idea that this is the type of stuff I was going to do, because I would see the joy that it brought in people to be connected to others, and I kind of never looked back, as they say. I mean, I look back to enjoy where I started, but since then I've just enjoyed putting groups of people together so that they can create community.
Of course. And it brings sort of a joy. They say that the real joy is when you share. Mm-hmm. Some people get stuck in, thinking only about themselves. I feel like it's a constant nowadays. Before it was a little bit less common. But nowadays we have a constant, which is everybody's pulling to their side without thinking how this might affect my peer, how this might affect my family or whatever. So when you start receiving and you start embracing actually joy from giving and bringing people together and actually genuinely enjoying what you do for the people in the community, I feel like that's next level. That's a sensation that I'm not sure if a lot of people have experienced a lot, but it does come with a big reward. Right. Now, why running? When did you realize, what, the running is the field that I will use as the best channel to connect with my people, with my community?
I could have picked, well, maybe pickleball wasn't around at the time, but I could have picked any sport, right? And for whatever reason, my dad, and I don't know if I've asked him why he picked running, but my dad was a runner in high school, and then ran as an adult, and he invited me on a run when I was 10 years old. He was going on a run with a friend, and I felt that was a moment. I look back and think that was probably a key moment where I thought, all right, there's something special about running. There's something hard about it. There's something different. Back then it wasn't that cool, but it was cool to be different in my book, in my eyes. In PE class, I was the one that wanted to do the extra lap. I was the one that, if they punished us with running, I laughed at the coach. I was like, oh yeah, this is your punishment. Well, I enjoy it, and so throughout the years, I grew this appreciation. There's definitely a love-hate relationship with running. You hate it sometimes while you're doing it because it's hard, but when it's over, you look back and you loved the hate you had for it. And I realized that Miami specifically was involved in running, and it had running, but it still wasn't what I perceived to be the potential of running. It wasn't there yet, and it's not there. It's getting there.
New York, Boston.
Yeah, you'd say some of these other communities that just embraced their big city race, whether it was the New York City Marathon or the Chicago Marathon or the London Marathon, or you name it. Every major city had something pretty large that they embraced, and then there was communities that fed this race. But most of the communities were more about the sport aspect of it, the performance aspect of it, which is nothing wrong. I think there's a percentage of folks that speaks to, but there was this community component that was lacking in Miami. It is a hot and humid place, so it's hard to be of a performance mindset all year long. At least you got to know what you're doing, and I realized that running was still just like it was still a clean slate to start from. I mean, Miami had some great pioneers in the sport. They had the Orange Bowl Marathon, they had Metro-Dade Marathon, they had some really good names that were behind those events, and I just felt that it was, we were ready to take it up a notch, and and to be honest, copy what other cities were doing. And we knew that to do that, or I realized with a group of folks that I was together with, starting this this idea of running and community and picking running, like you said, picking running as the avenue. I realized that there was a lot to be done, and it was going to lead the city into a better place. And if people ask me, I mean, I love my family, I love God, and I love my city, right? And I wanted what was better for the city, not necessarily what was better for me. If I can make a living along the way, great, but I just felt this calling to running. Maybe if I did it all over again, it might be another sport, but I felt that running was the one that was there for Miami.
Of course, and it makes total sense. Why? Because I've been playing sports my entire life. We actually, our producer and myself, we graduated from a high school where you either play a sport or you were like, okay, what the hell are you gonna do? Like, you need to play something.
Of course.
So, and I feel like here in America it's kind of similar, with the difference that you have other fields. But coming back to the running, I feel running for somebody who wants to get in shape, so somebody who wants to feel motivated by being with another people and running and participating in the process with other people. I feel running could be two things. It could be a transition point because it could give you the entryway to the fitness lifestyle. Why? Because I would say from all the disciplines, running or walking is the one who requires the less.
Yeah.
The least, yes. So,
and it probably gives you back the most.
And it gives you back the most. So it's
the biggest
like,
bang for your buck.
And you have even if you dedicate, even if it's a transition point, and then you start doing fitness like weightlifting, you still have to run. You still need to put at least walk. Otherwise, you're gonna get super big and you're not gonna be able to function. So I feel running is a great transition point. Or if you wanna fully dedicate your fitness life to running, well, we know there are like immense amount of work that you need to put towards, for example, doing a full marathon. That requires a training that you need to prepare your mindset and your body to be capable to deal with, especially in a place like Miami. I remember once I went support. I was supporting one of my friends. He was running the marathon, and he told me, "Bro, the last 2 miles, I was just going by inertia. It was just I think I didn't prepare well enough for this." But he's a fit guy. So I was like, well, damn, if this guy who is into fitness is struggling with it, I can't imagine the amount of work that this takes, especially if you're in the competitive level and you're trying to achieve some of the milestones that the industry has for you. Now, the Miami Marathon. You said something about the city, and that's something that really triggers something in my mind, because I feel we have the same vision in terms of when I moved to Miami, I couldn't hesitate to see, like, I couldn't stop thinking about the potential that this city has. Especially when I went and lived in San Diego, California for almost 2 years and came back, I was like, this city has something that if you are capable of seeing the potential in different aspects of the city, you could grow with it and you could be, you could participate in the process. Now, how were you able to sell your project to the city, to being able to, understanding that organizing a marathon in the middle of the city the tracks goes all the way to the Miami Beach bridge and everything. Those are areas that you need to close for the participants to be able to run, and especially here in downtown, etc. How, what strategy or how did you approach the city to sell your idea, to convince them?
I mean, I can't say it was easy because a lot of people back then didn't understand what a marathon was. Meaning the people on the other side of the desk, the gatekeepers, as I call them, your elected officials, um, your administrative officials of the cities and the counties and the state and all that. I mean, everyone knew what the New York City Marathon. They kind of understood the concept of running, but there was 5Ks, and there's, we're not talking. I didn't start this in the 20s, right? Like this was in the early 2000s. But there was a lot of education, right? I'd go in a room and it'd be filled with police officers and, elected officials or administrative officials. And you had to explain to them that this was going to be a worthwhile disruptor. It was going to disrupt the community to a certain extent. Granted, downtown didn't look like we see it now. So the disruption was a little less, a little less difficult to swallow than it might be today. And I'm glad we were sort of here before everything else was, because if not, it would have taken, a lot more of a lift. But anyhow, you would go in and you would, meaning I had two partners at the time, we would just, detail describe to them this vision that, hey, this race one day could impact this community from an economic standpoint and from a health standpoint. And the economics, I think, have been, without going into too much of the numbers, year after year, this is a generator for a community. It keeps people here because there's people that say, well, I don't need to go do a race somewhere else, so you keep your dollars here, and it brings people here. So that's important. And then on the health side, at the time, the mayor, who was in office in both the county and the city, were very pro healthy and pro health initiatives, and that was another big selling point, which is like, hey, this is an event that can inspire people to get healthier. And we're talking about early 2000s, where health and fitness weren't, I don't want to call it as cool, but it really was. It was still not where it is now, as well understood as to what effect it can have on our quality of life and so forth. And so it was a bit of a tough sell, but looking back, I think we planted the seeds at the right time. Unfortunately, you had some events, right? You had the Boston Marathon bombings that elevated at least the idea of what a race was. I can't say the bombings were a good thing, but I'm saying like people now understood, okay, 26.2 miles, people train a lot for it, or a half marathon is 13.1 miles. So that helped move the narrative, at least for us it did. We also had the coincidence that, I think you mentioned that, you work for a big company that's actually associated with the New York City Marathon. We work, at the time we were sponsored by ING. ING was the sponsor of the New York City Marathon. So that helped people link, oh, wait, so we can be like New York, right? We can have something like it. So that helped us with the elected officials and the Convention and Visitors Bureau and things like that. But I can't say it was one thing. It was a combination of a number of angles. It depends who we were talking to, right?
Of course.
And it took a lot of storytelling, like, hey, this is what it could be. And that first year we had 3,400 runners, which is not a big gathering, but it was big enough that people are like, right, this could be big. And so we're sitting here now, 23, 24 years later, with a field size that is almost, about 7 to 8 times that size. So pretty good.
And it's incredible that you mentioned, no, it's remarkable. And incredible that you mentioned the amount of years. Because
I'm getting old.
Like
I'm getting old.
It's not only because of the fact that years go by and it's life. It's part of life, and I feel like there are phases that we're gonna enjoy at each of when you're in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, you name it, you're gonna enjoy different things. And I feel like life is beautiful that way because you're gonna have the chance, if given the opportunity, because as we stated before, life is unpredictable. You're gonna have the chance to enjoy yourself and the people who love you for who you are at any moment of your life, and people who support you. But there's something that now comes, and I think about it now that Miami, because you made reference to two big cities, like for example Boston or New York, and you see those marathons, and those marathons are huge. Like there's been work. I'm not sure if the same 23 years or more, but it takes time. It takes time to build a community. It takes time for people, for you to gain their trust. Everything takes some time. And when you are trying to achieve something, in this case, bringing the community together, I think patience plays a key role.